Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Regan. I'm a reporter with Senior Housing News. Welcome to today's webinar. If you're a senior living provider, then you absolutely know how hard it can be to entice a resident to move into your community, especially now. But with the entire industry effectively in lease up in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, sparking interest in connecting people to your community is maybe more important than any time in recent history. But there are providers out there who are wielding digital marketing as a powerful tool to drive leads, move-ins, and census. So today we have a panel of senior living experts who are going to share 5 digital marketing lessons that they've learned to keep their communities at peak occupancy. So let's go through our panel. Today we have Erik Erwin. Erik is the Regional Director of Sales and Marketing at Westmont Living. Erik began his healthcare career in 2006, and he currently manages 14 community relations directors in 10 communities with Westmont. Erik also previously worked with Comfort Keepers, which is an in-home care agency. We also have Jen Lovely. Jen is Senior Vice President of Sales and Conversion at Conversion Logix. And at Conversion Logix, she's built a senior living group that delivers qualified traffic to clients' websites to accelerate their leads, tours, and move-ins. And before joining that company, she spent 20 years in the hospitality sector as an executive in sales and marketing. And then finally, we have Dr. Jen Leeder. Dr. Jen Leeder is founder and CEO of Passport to Longevity. She has a background in sales and marketing that includes working as a sales leader in senior living since 2014. And as I said, she recently launched Passport to Longevity, which helps instill wellness by teaching older adults to live healthier lives. So before we start, I did want to go over a couple housekeeping items. I always say this, that you can participate in our webinar today by asking questions. So if you have any questions, you'll see that you have a question box in your GoToWebinar window. Click on that, type in questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can throughout our presentation today. So all right, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So Jen Lovely, I think we're going to start with you. Tell me more, which digital marketing channels reach seniors and their families? This is so important right now.
Yeah, it's actually a really collaborative effort, Tim. So the goal is to capture, connect, and convert. And it takes all channels and an all-encompassing approach to actually make this happen. So when you're actually setting up a digital marketing campaign, you'll want everything from your paid search to social ads to display ads, etc. And then you'll always want conversion tools in addition to that as well. So it's really important, and whoever you're working with should be able to actually look at the market and figure out which aspects are most important in that market. Is it a smaller market? Do we have higher amounts of paid search, lower amounts, etc.? But it definitely is an all-encompassing approach because people are at different stages of the game. I would say that a lot of people in their initial stages are Googling or going through paid search. And then it's very important to be reconnecting with them through display ads and social ads and whatnot, because people usually aren't converting on the first touch. So.
Jen and Erik, anything to weigh in here about digital marketing channels that reach seniors and their families?
Yeah, I guess, like what Jen was saying, is, we do the all the above approach because we don't ever know exactly when a resident or a family member is going to need us, but we want to be there when they do, right? So, using Jen and her platform really allows us to be in that forefront, especially, on the internet, paid search, Google, all of that.
Yeah, I agree, and I have a fun story. It was a few years ago when I was working in a community in Chicagoland area, and I had a woman in her 90s bring in a newspaper clipping that was about 20 years old, announcing the community opening, and she cut it out and put it in an envelope and said, I knew when I needed senior living, that was where I was going to go. And it was the first time she unfolded it, but fast forward 20 years, meeting Jen, Jen's the expert in digital marketing, and truly that's where I tapped into anything I needed to know. I be on the phone with Jen every day. Hey, what's the best avenue? I'm going to leave it to you guys. You guys are the experts in this. And but just kind of hitting most adult children across the board on all social media avenues and other advertising means.
Yeah, Jen, I've heard some providers tell me about the importance of digital video right now. Jen Lovely, can you talk at all about how that kind of fits into this picture? Maybe you spoke at this a little earlier, but I keep hearing about, the need to place video ads or other things as part of a digital marketing like omni-channel approach.
Video ads are super important right now, and they're super popular. As most of us know, people don't read, so find the fine details. So a lot of people like to watch a quick 30-second video and say, oh my gosh, that place looks great, or those people look really nice, or they seem nice. And what we're finding too, especially during COVID, a lot of people were actually watching videos and taking video tours. That has become so important in the initial stages, just going in and kind of taking a quick sneak peek at these different communities and their staff. And so video is extremely important right now. And you can actually tap into video through YouTube advertising. You can have a very nice, short and sweet, great, fairly inexpensive, believe it or not, video produced, where you can add that to Facebook ads, to your email signature, etc., to conversion tools, and it works really, really well.
Yeah. Erik, I guess I want to ask you a quick question here. What effects of this have you seen in Westmont Living's operations?
Yeah. Well, it's been huge for us, especially during the pandemic. Luckily, we've been on the forefront of that through different avenues of, doing videos. I remember when I was a community relations director, FaceTiming families and doing tours that way, 10 years ago. And then we never knew that we'd be in this pandemic that we are now. And so what families are doing is they're going to YouTube, they're going and just like we researched the new, iPhone Pro Max 13 on YouTube and seeing what all the experts are saying about it, people are doing the same thing with senior living. And so having that snippet and that short video that looks nice, that's professionally, made, people are getting that initial look at it. There's a lot of times, I'll be flying or I'm on the road and people will say, oh, they'll ask me what I do for a living, and I tell them senior living, and they're like, yeah, my mom's in a nursing home, and they're talking about skilled nursing, right? And so demystifying what our communities look like, that video really helps that initial resident or prospect or family member look and say, this isn't a nursing home, this is a cruise ship that doesn't move, and so it really helps demystify the whole first part, so that now we can get a phone call. Now they're going to go to Jen and, through conversion Logix, through the search engine optimization, all of those things. So now that we can capture them, but that's usually the first step.
Great. I want to ask you both, or all three of you, about what converts prospects into leads. But before I do, we're talking about digital marketing channels. Jen Lovely or Dr. Leeder, anything else that you wanted to add here about digital marketing channels that reach seniors or their families? Any other tidbits or wisdom you can share?
Yeah, I agree. Just listening to Erik, I think the one important thing is the video tour, and especially with the pandemic, we had moved to doing a full-on video tour. I will say we had noticed that it was hard for some seniors or family members to navigate those video tours on their own. So sometimes sending just that link isn't as good as doing that in person. So actually doing the video tour for them through a Zoom or GoToMeeting and walking them through the building, holding their hand through that building as you would if they were in your presence, and then also kind of doing that short mini clip, doing that 60-second video that you can give to Jen Lovely and her team to embed into the social media avenues, so they can get that overview, a quick overview, and then take the time later to view that, I think is really important.
Right.
Great. We actually have a question from our audience. Before we do, Dr. Leeder, I gotta say, just awesome background. I wish I could be there with coastal views behind me. So I commend you. So Erik, here's a question specifically for you, and I want to remind our audience, if you all have any questions, this is again collaborative, so please type them in. We'll try to get to them today as they're relevant. So Erik, this is for you. The question is, do you utilize Instagram for videos? And if you do, how successful has that been for you?
Yeah, so we not as much. More of what we have found is that Facebook has been a lot more interactive for us. I do, we allow our teams to post on Instagram and do those types of things, which can kind of be scary sometimes. Are they posting the correct things? Are they? But when you give your teams the support to do those things, then they'll do them usually in the right way. And you just kind of tell them, here's the guidelines that we need to do, but they can post so much quicker than send it to the corporates and do all this, as long as they have, the photo disclosures and all that of the residents, they can do it. But what we've found is that Facebook has been more instrumental than Instagram. And it's just the demographic that's on Facebook right now. My age group and above, I'm 44, is really on Facebook, where Instagram is still, I have a 16-year-old daughter. They're really into the Snapchat, the Instagram. So, and they're not really looking for their family members. It's my age group right now and above that's looking for their parents. And we're even seeing more seniors get on social media themselves, and most of them aren't going to navigate Instagram. They just don't want to learn it. It's a little bit, trickier for them. So Facebook has been around longer, so they've learned to use it more. So that's, for us, has been where we've seen lead conversion a little bit better.
Yeah,
And Tim, I'll tag onto that too. So when we've run ads with Erik's team or with any other companies we work with as well, we have done some testing with Facebook and Instagram together. And when we, have the opportunity for impressions to go out there and be used on either platform, sometimes we'll see 95% are going to Facebook and only 5% to Instagram. Where we've seen success in Instagram is with recruiting ads, which has been very popular. So,
right.
But with reaching the prospects, Erik is right. We've seen definitely more success with Facebook for sure.
I'm assuming probably not as much on like TikTok or something like that. Not yet anyway.
Yeah, we'll do our, all I know is I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she just runs around the supermarket, wherever she's at, doing these like dances all the time. Like, what is going on with this? I don't know.
Jen, that could be a new media avenue for you, is TikTok, getting the communities to build their dance videos.
You could have,
But, Tim, I wanted to say,
Jen Leeder doing videos on the boat.
Yeah.
There you go. I think, sorry, Dr. Leeder, I cut you off there.
Yeah, Tim, I was just going to say, to your point, what I've noticed is, especially you can see here, a lot of adult children are moving to, if they had remote cabins or somewhere else. So I think more and more, because of the pandemic, people are making choices to live in different places, work remotely. So the whole social media movement and video movement is going to become even more important now. I've just seen a lot of people saying, hey, you know what, I'm ready to move out of the city, ready to move to a different place, and tying in, Jen Lovely, the recruitment piece. And I know, being a leader in sales and marketing, a lot of your employees are going to look to your sales and marketing team on other avenues of recruiting, especially right now with a lot of people potentially losing their jobs in healthcare. You guys may be opening up a new avenue to help the rest of your teams with that other piece. So Instagram might be important for your nursing team or some of your operations team in that recruiting aspect as well.
Yeah, and a little tidbit I want to throw out there is 50% of US adults ages 63 plus, and 72% ages 50 to 64 are using Facebook. So a lot of the 65 plus are starting to use Facebook now as well. So
yeah.
Great. I know we've got some other topics to move on to, but we got another audience question. I think it's relevant, so I want to stick on this for just a little bit more. I think this one is for you, Jen Lovely, although Dr. Leeder, if you have something to weigh in here, the question is addressed to Jen. So Jen, do you recommend video with live chat?
Do I recommend what?
Video with live chat.
Video with live chat. I definitely recommend a live face with live chat. I love that. I think if you've got a photo of your director of sales and marketing or executive director or something like that versus just a logo, I think that's important. And then also in live chat, in the actual live chat, if somebody says, gosh, it'd be great to see the property, or if you're trying to schedule a tour through live chat, I think it's very important to include a live chat or a video link in the live chat so that folks can actually watch a video right then and there. So versus telling them about it later. So You might be able to send that link to somebody, they watch it right then and there, and then they say, wow, this looks like a great place, and then they schedule the tour immediately thereafter. So I think that's a great idea.
Great. Let's move on to our next topic, which is also very important, converting prospects into leads. So I know all three of you have things to weigh in here. Maybe Jen Lovely, since we're talking with you, maybe we'll start with you. So what offers convert prospects into lead? What do you typically find there?
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to touch on here. So let's talk about how the ad looks visually. Let's talk about the offer and a few things. So it's really important to be concise. You want your prospects to know what you're offering and what you're selling. I've talked to a lot of people that say, oh, I want to get super creative and I want to do something completely different and cool and whatnot. Well, here's a simple fact. If you try to get too creative, people might not know what you're offering, to be honest. I was talking with a client again recently, and in the past, a lot of people had used something similar to ask about 3,000 reasons why to move in. And we kind of chuckled because we both said, oh my goodness, I'm having an anxiety attack thinking about 3,000 reasons why to move in. And when you have these adult children who are really just trying to navigate this tough decision, they might be dealing with siblings, they might be working a lot, etc. They don't want to know about 3,000 reasons. They just want to know what the differentiator is. So if you're offering to save them $3,000, just say, hey, we're saving you $3,000. Ask about our $3,000, offer, that sort of thing, or ask how to save $3,000. Another one that's, people want to get cute or do themes or catchy or that sort of thing, but I think you have to be really careful. Jen Leeder and I were actually talking about one recently too, where a lot of people want to do something that's related to the holidays. For example, at Valentine's Day, fall in love at XYZ or fall in love with this. And then they show pictures of seniors and you see fall in love. And we were, in fact, she and Eric and I were all kind of joking about it. We said, is this a silver singles ad, right? So you have to be really careful about the language you're using, the photos you're using. Just stick to just, good, solid, information, get the offer out there. I think it's really important. And with photos, we're asked a lot, what photos work best? Just amazing real estate photos. Like Eric was saying, basically a lot of these people are moving into cruise ships that don't move. And a lot of people don't realize how nice the interior is, the actual building itself, what they offer and whatnot. So really focus on something that's great. If you have an amazing dining room, if you have an amazing workout facility or lobby area or whatever it might be, or even a great apartment that you want to feature, show that off or show great pictures of different activities with residents. I think a lot of the future residents moving into their families don't realize how much is offered, from cooking classes to wine tasting to very specialized exercise programs, things like that. So feature something that's going to set you apart and definitely have really nice, great photos. So photos and language, and just stay really concise is my suggestion.
And what's really important about the photos and all of that is, as a person who trains our sales team and our community relations directors, is we don't want them feature dumping. We have a pool, we have this, we have that. Well, everyone has that, right? What we want to do is get past all the features. So now we can, I tell our teams that we're here to counsel families. Like, a lot of people ask me what I do for a living. I say I save marriages, right? So it's because, I have the mother-in-law that's living with the daughter-in-law and they're done, and so when you have those pictures and that already set up, they see the features. So they know there's a pool, they know there's a dining room, they know all those. So now we can get down to the real business of what pressure point in your life is getting you to pick up the phone and call me today or look online. So we can get down to the real issue of how to help these families create quality time in their lives.
Eric, and I agree, and I think you've probably seen a lot of this yourself, having those photos that are going to attract people to move in, because a lot of these seniors have been so isolated and away from other people. So anything that kind of attracts them to, getting over that depression and that loneliness and seeing life happening, right? Versus showing pictures of just empty rooms, but you know, different people around and what life is going to look for them, I think is really important.
Yep, exactly. And, you know, showing your events and showing those things, because what we've seen, especially in COVID, is people have been so isolated that when we have any event that, you know, we're allowed to do within the county, you know, guidelines, people are showing up and they're excited to be there. And they just, for so long, they've been so isolated. It used to be before COVID, we couldn't get anyone to come to our, you know, events because they're like, I'm tired. Like, I've been to 10 events. But now they've been so isolated, and they were isolated for, you know, almost going on 2 years now. So they're really jumping at the opportunity for events. And so showing those events after they happen on your site and those types of things has really helped too. And on the Facebook, you know, Jen, and all of those. So
And Jen, I know you created Taco Tuesdays that we ran in the communities. That was a really big hit. You know, people were really just excited to come and pick up some tacos and say hello, whether it was just at the door or, you know, if they could come into the communities. But, you know, that was one of the creative events, I think, that really brought a lot of people to our community. Jen, that was one of your ideas.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about some more of those ideas here in a bit too. It was actually really fun, just getting creative and strategizing with everybody and trying to come up with fun, different ideas. So it definitely challenged us all, right?
Right.
I know that I would go to any Taco Tuesday that's offered. I'll be there. We got another question from the audience. This is actually something I've always wondered about. So we see oftentimes on senior living websites stock photos of happy older adults, you know, laughing, playing sports, that kind of stuff. The question is, do you think that these stock photos of happy people actually work?
I have an answer. I actually think they do. You have to be really careful about using resident photos. If you're going to use resident photos, you need to be real careful and make sure that they are good photos, right? And make sure you get the residents' approval and their family's approval and whatnot. So as long as they're valid, as long as they're relatable, if it's a memory care community and you've got IL photos, then that probably isn't the best situation. But if you offer independent living and you have stock photos of people who fit into that independent living mold, then I think it's terrific. And Eric and
yeah, you know, I worked for a company and they actually hired a professional photographer to come out and do our residents at our building, and created, you know, kind of station shots and different things. And it was great. It was wonderful. Either one, people aren't really, at the end of the day, they're not this. Everyone knows about stock photos. We know where we can go grab them and pull them on. What we're trying to get the family or the lead to do is to click past that. It's just kind of there as fluff in a way. That picture of the happy resident was really for about 10-15 years ago when people had no idea what senior living was. Now they have, they're getting more educated. They're starting to understand a little bit more, and so now they kind of understand where the photos are coming from, and now let's get to the nuts and bolts of things. So
Great. We have another audience question before we move on. This is while we're on the topic of offers that convert prospects into leads. The question is, have you seen success with having, and maybe Eric will stick with you on this one, have you seen success with having a hospitality suite at your community? This idea of try before you buy, stay for a week, and then decide.
I mean, yeah, since I've been in the industry, you know, since 2006, we call them respite rooms, right? And so I like, what was the term they used? Hospitality room? I like that. I might steal that. I may or may not steal that. I'm just going to let you know that. So, but you know, because it's been called respite room for so long, and everyone's like, "What's a respite room?" You know, no one's to this day knows what a respite room is, right? So, yeah, I'm going to steal that. But yes, they're super important. What I have always found with them though is doing a 30-day minimum. And you know, and capping it maybe at 60 days. You can go less than that, but you know, if you look at the research, if someone stays 30 days, you have about a 90% chance of them converting as opposed to if they stay a week, because no one likes any community the first week. you know, because you're getting your mom or dad who's lived in their home for 60 years and you're bringing them to this community. They're trying to prove you wrong about bringing them there. And so that first week, it doesn't matter. It could be the Taj Mahal and you could have servants galore. If they're so mad at their children that nothing's going to make it. And then the second week, they start to enjoy it. Third week, they really enjoy it, but they're not going to let their children know. And usually on that fourth week, everything is, we've worked out all the kinks of getting to know them and then getting to know us. And they'll actually admit that they really enjoy being in a social environment and getting the care and taking care of their needs. So, but yes, it is beneficial. I've used them since I've been in the industry. It's a great way for people to get to know the community. It's also a great way if people are at skilled nursing and they have high care needs for us to get to know them and them to get to know us, and then have our teams heal them along the way with, you know, physical therapy and all the things that we do have in our assisted livings. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Well, Tim, if I can just chime in real quick. So I've seen it twofold. One is working in large CCRCs, especially during the pandemic, offering staycations for independent, you know, husband and wife who are thinking about moving in. They're a little bit worried right now with the pandemic, but they don't want to travel anymore. It's not really safe to travel to hotels and other places, but knowing that you've got a really good procedure in place for testing, and that everybody inside that, you know, building is safe, it's kind of bringing them to a new, you know, home or vacation. So calling it a staycation and giving them that opportunity in a very safe environment. And then again, as Erik said, in assisted living, the need for the adult children right now that are staying home, working from home, taking care of mom and dad, and the numbers just, you know, increased greatly for adult children calling me up and saying, listen, I need a break from my mom and dad. I want to travel, but I don't have anyone to take care of them. What do I do? So, you know, hey, mom and dad, you guys get to go on your own vacation, take it a staycation at this assisted living, memory care, you know, while they could travel. I think, honestly, it probably has almost doubled since, you know, before the pandemic of needing just respite. But as you said, Erik, that 30-day, especially with the amount of paperwork involved and everything else for staff, and giving them a longer extended time to really appreciate the community.
And Tim, same with me, with all of my clients. I'm hearing that when people say, hey mom, you get to go on vacation too. We're going on vacation, but you get to go on vacation. So calling it a vacation versus, hey, you get to go here and check this out, or this is, you know, a respite, or, you know, a trial or something like that. But calling it a vacation for the senior resident themselves, I think is super important.
Yeah, and during the summer and the holidays, we actually get a lot more respites, and it's just, and we, you know, we train on it. It's like, you know, hey mom, dad, we're going to Tahoe to go skiing. We want to make sure that you're safe while we're gone. We know you can't go skiing with us, and you can't make it up the mountain and up the stairs. So here's a great place that you're going to be at, and call us if you need us. And then they're out.
This is great. We're getting some more audience questions, which is fantastic. Don't stop. I want to actually move on, and then maybe we've got a couple more questions I can probably work in here. So I want to move on to a topic that I know a lot of providers think about, which is the types of conversions that drive, or the types of conversations that drive conversions, I should say. So Dr. Leeder, maybe we'll start with you, and then Erik will hear from you. Tell us about the types of conversations that help drive conversions among, you know, older adults and their families.
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. It's really, you know, spending more time listening to their needs versus selling, as Erik said, the features and benefits of your building. But, you know, when somebody can truly trust you, and trust that it's a place that they feel safe bringing their loved ones, you know, and making sure that you really touch upon what their needs are, what they're looking for, because every building, again, as Erik said, has pretty much a lot of the same features that the next building does. But, you know, it's really introducing them to team members. You know, if you can connect them with your director of wellness, your director of activities, the other residents, that's a really big piece. So when you're taking those tours, introduce them to everybody in the building, make them feel like they belong there, that they're wanted. To me, that's key. And I know, Erik, you can probably touch upon a lot of other things too that you're doing right now as well.
Yeah, you know, and when training our, you know, everyone says sales is sales, and it's not. I don't care what you say. This industry is completely different than any other type of industry in quote unquote sales. And the difference is that we're dealing with people's lives, and we're dealing with moms and dads and children and relationships and all of those things that we all, you know, all of us put the fun and dysfunctional in our families, right? And so we come from, you know, everyone has a hurt, a hang up, or a habit that we're trying to work through, right? So so really, for us, the conversion comes not from the feature dumping, not from these types of things, but making a connection, you know, with our community relations directors, and it happens usually within the first 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Are you trustworthy, and are you likable? Do I like you, and can I trust you with my mom and dad? And what you say, is that gonna really take place? Because I know what great care I give my mom and dad, and are you gonna step in and take care at least as good as I am, right? Hopefully better, but at least. And are you gonna love my mom and care for my mom and care for my dad on a real level, or is this just a job? And so that's where sales is not just sales. I tell our team all the time, listen, you're really a marriage and family therapist. So just go from that perspective, and that will convert leads, because you're coming from a position of love, right? You're coming from a position of trying to meet that person on a real level. And then second, you're getting to make a great living doing something that is helping, you know, people and their families. Like, what other sales job do you really get to do that? I mean, selling a Tesla, yeah, you get a joyride, and you know, it's fast and it's great and you can charge it. But in senior living, I not only make the, you know, quote unquote sell and the conversion, but I get to see them every day, which is sometimes not good, but mostly it is. 99% of the time it is, but not all the time. But that's just a different type of you know, sales, and that's how we convert. That's how we do things different. And that's where I find my joy, actually, is when people get it, when they realize I'm not just doing sales, I'm converting based on I care, right?
And
So,
Eric, I'm sure you see this. So Tim, I think, Jen, you've said we have 100, 200 attendees on this call, and I'm not sure, you know, what positions everyone is in, but when I see questions coming in like this, and being a VP of sales and marketing, you know, what is really key is, you know, as a sales director, you know how to sell, but make sure you work with your other teammates. So that experience start with before they walk in the door. You know, make sure that the outside of the building is clean. When you walk in, work with your front desk, work with your concierge, give them a small script, because it's really that simple. It seems like, oh goodness, how do I train them how to sell? It's really just about greeting, the smile, that customer experience, just that hello, and making sure that everybody in that building has that sales approach as well. So it could just be as simple as giving them a 30-second elevator speech of when, you know, our potential prospect or resident is walking in that door. Just come up, greet yourself, tell them something that you love about your job, ask them a little bit something about themselves. It's just really giving them a couple of conversation starters. So, you know, it doesn't just stop with that sales office, but making sure that you have that whole team approach down is really important.
Yeah. And Tim, when I look at some of our chat conversations, because we offer live chat, some of the things that actually convert prospects, you know, or drive those conversations into conversions, actually get them to schedule a tour. People want to know, well, what kind of care? Do you have 24/7 nursing? They want to know, like Eric and Jen are saying, that their loved ones are being taken care of. So they really want to know a little bit more about what the care looks like, and who are those people for them. Also, you know, just focusing on their pain points, like Eric and Jen have also said, you know, what's driving them to get online and try to find a place, and really work around that. And then thirdly, a lot of people, when you look at our live chats too, they ask about specialized events. My mom really loves to cook. Is there going to be an opportunity for her to be able to cook? Is there cooking classes, baking classes, something like that? So they want to know that, yes, they're going to go there. They know there's a kitchen. They know they serve meals, like, you know, like Eric said, they know they have a pool or exercise, you know, facility, but they want to know that there's going to be specialized events and activities and care based upon their loved ones. So they want to make sure they're getting special attention. And when we see those conversations happening, we see that it then drives to a conversion, which equals, a phone call set or a tour set.
Great. We have an audience question that fits in here, and I want to remind everyone, if you have questions, type them into your question box on GoToWebinar. Again, we'll try to get to as many as we can. So this question, again, we're on the topic of the types of conversations that drive conversions. So the question is, we're talking a lot about older seniors making the decision with their children. What about things to convert younger seniors making the decision for themselves? I guess I'll just sort of open up the floor. Any of you have any thoughts there?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I was in a community of 400 units. We had real estate property. We had, it was the whole gamut. So we did see younger, late 50s, early 60s coming in and actually buying the home or moving into the independent living. With those, they're just a longer sales cycle completely. I mean, you're working with them for a year, maybe even longer. And so just knowing that when they come in there, they're not wanting to be sold today, and you hear like get the check today or whatever it is. But with those, generally there are outliers, but generally speaking, the conversations you're having with them is lifestyle. It is the features. It is the kind of the vacation rental home type of sales almost, that you, when you go to those and they give you free, what is it, timeshares, free seminars on. So it's almost kind of like that, and it's a little bit longer. We generally we see that a lot more when you have more of an independent property. But in one of our communities, we're doing a lot of newspaper ads and things like that. And there's, older generation reads the newspaper and they're actually making the decision for themselves. And what they're saying is, I just want to be ready for, when the time comes. I'm not ready yet, but I want my kids to know where I want to go. And so understanding that type of process, but it takes, with those, even it's 2 to 3 months minimum for them to come in. It's just a longer sales cycle.
And I think depending, again, if you're in a standalone assisted living memory care versus a CCRC or independent living, and a lot of times it's really helping that person also, once you get them in the door, Eric, as you said, and once you really sell to them or help them understand what the value is of what they're getting. But, sometimes you really just got to get comfortable with that conversation on finances, because they don't realize that they're paying for their electricity, their garbage, their utilities. So it's like, oh, they look at this big price tag and think, wow, well, I'm living in my home, I don't need to pay this extras, because they're thinking care. So helping them break down at the end of the day, what they're really getting, that it's all included, and they don't realize those other added things that they're paying for. And the other thing too, especially if you're looking at CCRCs or a different type of care, or, even coming into an independent living. And, to me, I think it's really important is kind of helping them understand that don't leave that choice for your children. Because I've seen one too many times where you get, a mom or dad, break a leg or hip, and then now their adult children are moving them across the state, across the country, places they don't want to be. So, that's the best time to think about, senior living, is when you still have the choice as the senior to pick where you want to live, and not have that burden fall onto your children at some point. So I think those are some other, key conversation pieces that can be had, just depending on who your audience is, and who you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with everything Jen and Eric said. And when we're selling independent living too, it's really important to focus on the amenities and the lifestyle. So people want to stay active.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great segue into our next topic, which is creative virtual tours and events that get noticed. So Jen Lovely, we'll stick with you for this one. What are some creative virtual tours or events that get noticed? What can providers do here?
Yeah, so during COVID, we obviously had to get really creative. And Jen Leeder brought up one example of Taco Tuesdays. So everybody created virtual tours, whether it was a professional tour, whether they were doing FaceTime tours. whether we took stock photos and created a tour for them, however that looked, everybody was doing that, but we had to get creative. So I think it's really fun and important, and I believe that this is something that will go on for quite a long time. People have gotten used to being able to do a lot of their research online and not, whether they're getting in the car themselves, whether they're loading mom up, auntie up, whoever, to go look at a place, people are looking online. So I think it's really important to have some fun, creative things. Like, for example, I'm an adult child. I want to pick up, I can go pick up tacos for 2 or a bottle of wine or whatever. So a lot of the communities would do these fun things, whether it was Taco Tuesdays, Wine Down Wednesdays, a donuts and conversation, donuts and discussion, or whatever. You'd pick something up and then you'd go home and you could sit there and have a virtual tour. So it was nice because the future residents or the future residents and their adult children were able to meet somebody at the community in a drive-by situation, right? They would stay in the car, they would meet social distance, pick up the meal, pick up the bottle of wine, pick up the treat, and then they would actually go home and do the virtual tour online. So it was a kind of a fun tandem type of idea. And I believe it's very important to keep this type of thing going, whether it's just virtual tours by itself or tag teaming and doing kind of a pickup type of situation. I think that picking up pies is going to be super successful and attractive this holiday season. So keep those kind of fun ideas in mind. I know people have done that in the past, but definitely that sort of thing is helpful. Also, like I mentioned, during COVID, everybody was doing everything online. Definitely keep those possibilities open, because adult children or the seniors themselves can actually go online and knock out all 2 or 3 or 4 tours that they're going to do within whatever that period is, and then make a decision. And some people are choosing to make their decisions that way versus, quote unquote, however you want to look at it, spending a whole day, wasting a whole day, that sort of thing. Also, another thing is, as you're coming up with the tours too, and I worked with Erik and Jen and several people on this as well, but if you know that that future prospect loves cooking, have that tour be focused around meeting chef and chef cooking or his favorite meal. Or if everybody always teases me. Erik says he's got a place for me when I get old, and there's going to be a treadmill and kombucha, right? So, but find out if they like exercising, right? Go do a tour and show them all the exercise facility and the cool things. And, oh, we have these virtual machines or whatever it is. So find out what that future resident likes and really hone in on that during the tour. That's super important.
Yeah, I agree. And shout out to Amber Luke if you're on this, because I've learned from a few really top sales directors out in the marketplace. But I love that idea of meet the team. If you can't come in or you're too nervous to come in, get your whole team together, do a video, send that out, to your team to introduce everybody. And Jen, when you said pies, one of the things that I really love is don't forget to give out some kind of an incentive. A lot of times we forget, hey, if you refer a friend or bring somebody in, we'll give you, whatever your community offers, if it's $1,000 referral bonus, but you can make a cute little coupon check and attach it to that pie when you're passing them out. Because if it's not right for them right now, it might be right for their neighbor. And especially during the holiday time, how many adult children are seeing their parents for the first time in a year and recognizing, oh my goodness, mom and dad have been home alone all year, and who's really taking care of them, or they're not getting the help they need. So, if you can kind of get your information out there in several different ways, I think that's really helpful. And I know too, a lot of folks are giving out even $5 Amazon gift cards to get them to come online and do a tour or whatever, whatever you can do to incentivize them, I think works well.
Great. Erik, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, I mean, really just, I think one of the things that we've been touching on is the creative video follow-up. So they'll come tour and then what they, finding out what they do enjoy and those types of things. So if we have another event that would benefit them, like we're doing a wine and paint event tonight at one of our communities, and they're going to, after they do that, follow up with each person that came with another video of another event similar, so that they know to come to the next event. So just continually always bringing those call to actions in. But like Jen said, a lot of people don't read anymore. If I send an email, honestly, it's like 2 sentences anymore. to people with follow-up. Otherwise, it's a short video. Hey, remember our wine and paint event? We're excited for you to come to our whatever new event that we're going to be having, Wine Down Wednesday or whatever. So that's really where we've gotten creative, is on the follow-up video from the tour or the event that they came to.
Great.
And that's a great idea.
So we've got about 15 minutes left. We're still getting a couple audience questions, which is great. We've got one more topic to get to. I think we'll cover that, and then whatever we have at the end, maybe we'll ask that. Jen Lovely, back to you. This one's very important. How do you evaluate and improve your campaign or strategy? Like, kind of sum this all up for us.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways here. So when you're running a campaign, you always need to be able to look at the least journey visualizer, the least journey. Know where your traffic is coming from. Know which traffic is converting. How many phone calls are you getting? Are you listening to those phone calls? I know both Jen and Eric and several of my clients too, we've listened to phone calls, right? What are people in this area, what are they asking for? Is Facebook converting? Do we need to spend more money in this avenue versus that avenue? And then also having regular reviews and strategy meetings. So whether you're working with just one vendor for everything or 3 vendors, getting on the phone and having those strategy meetings on a regular basis. And in this industry, not once a quarter. This needs to be happening at least every month. And I think Jen and Eric have both brought it up. There's times when we've talked several days in a row because something has changed. And especially in the last 18 months, that hasn't been unreasonable. So just having those regular meetings, what's working, what's not working. Conversion tools, making sure that you have conversion tools in place and how many people are converting. And then from there, how many people are actually touring and depositing and moving in. That's something that Eric and I talk about on a really regular basis too. So that's how you are evaluating and improving your campaign strategy. And it's ongoing. It doesn't stop. So.
You know what, too, Jen, I love about the conversion Logix reporting tools is listening to those calls, because a lot of times you'll spend, thousands of dollars on mystery shoppers, which are great. However, some of our really seasoned sales and marketing directors catch on to mystery shoppers really quick. So they know how to either change the conversation or they don't perform as well because they're nervous. But the fantastic tool with Conversion Logix that Jen taught me was to go back in and listen to the actual true recorded calls through their system, because then you don't need that third-party mystery shopper, and it is the real, deal happening in live time that you can go back and really help your sales director hear what's happening. For me personally, I know, I've known Jen for a lot of years. Conversion Logix is an excellent product. And Jen is one of the smartest people I know, not only in industry, but in general. So if you need answers, I was always on the phone with Jen, like all the time. Hey, tell me, you look at my reports here. So it is having those monthly calls, getting the feedback from Jen and not trying to, recreate the wheel or have owner operators say, hey, I think we need this. It's, they're working across the market. They're seeing what's happening, not only in your community, but in all different communities. So being able to compare that data across industry standards, put those benchmarking tools in place. Really valuing, the experts in the industry, such as Jen and what they can bring to the table with that.
Thank you, Jen. I didn't pay her to say that.
Right.
Eric, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I mean, just having our meetings with Jen and her team, I have learned so much, and I think, my wife's a teacher, so she always talks about, being a lifelong learner. So what's great about hanging out with Jen is you are a lifelong learner, and you get to learn new things all the time, especially in this world that is not, for me, I'm a community relations director. I'm a very feely, touchy, emotional, type of person. And then when you get the person on the other side that knows the analytics and can just bring that to it, I'm a big baseball fan, and there's been a lot of discussion about analytics and, the feel of the game, right? And so I think all of our industries are really getting to that point where we got to have the heart, we have to have the love, we have to have the emotion, but also we need to know, like, is this lead converting? What zip code is it coming from? Is that working? You know, and so that's what Jen really helps us do with conversion Logix, is really dig into the nitty gritty and where are these coming from and why are they coming and how many are coming and when they do come, are we answering the phone and are we just calling them the next day and following up with them? So, you know, those types of things that you know, the feely touchy, you know, emotional side doesn't really get to, but we need all of those analytics so that we can get to the point of that.
Right. And they hear me say, okay, they'll say, well, we feel like, and I'm like, okay, well, feeling like isn't really what's happening.
No,
Anyway.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, all three of you, for you know, a great discussion on all these topics. We've got about 10 minutes left here to answer some of our audience's burning questions with the time that we have left. So again, reminder to our audience, if you have any, you know, anything that's on your mind, speak now. So our first question, and again, I'll sort of just open up the floor. Anyone who wants to weigh in on this, you know, can start. Our first question is, what types of referral offers do you offer your residents?
I know one of the big ones for myself was just a free birthday month. And, you know, for moving in, you know, rather than hitting your bottom line and having, say, 12 move-ins at the end of December, then January, you've got to pay all that out or you're missing that revenue, is, you know, you can move in with us now and then your first birthday month is free or is on us. So that was one big thing, for sure.
Something
Kind of
that something that I've seen work with residents too, referring friends or whatever as well, is you know, they can always be given, you know, a cash incentive, or like Jen said, you know, receive your birthday month free if you refer a friend to move in, but also refer a friend and receive free, you know, maybe free extra meals if they're only paying for 2 meals a day or something like that, or if their kids come in to have a meal with them, if they have to pay, then they get maybe free family meal tickets or something like that. I know when my husband lived in, or when my not my husband, when my mother-in-law lived in senior living, my husband loved going and having dinner with her very often. So, and I know he paid, and that would have been kind of cool. She probably would have thought that was fun to be able to, you know, treat him to dinner, right? To have some free meal tickets. I think that's kind of a fun idea too.
Yeah, one thing that I devised was a pyramid scheme. And so what they would do is they would invite their friend and their longest leg. They got, no, I'm just joking.
I was going with it, Eric.
I was watching Tim's face on this, like, where is he going with it?
I was like,
but no, I mean, giving them a free, you know, month, or, you know, an incentive to invite their friends, because I mean, you want to build a community with people you like, right? And so you want to invite your friends to come live with you and live near you, and some of the neighbors in your neighborhood that you actually like, or, you know, the ones that you don't like, you don't invite them, but the ones that you do, you know, you create a community with. And so those are all types of incentives that we do.
Tim, something else that I have found that people have done that has been successful too is if they refer a friend and they move in, the community will actually host a party for them and up to 20 friends or something, which is kind of fun too. It makes them look like a rock star, right? Hey, come to my place and I'm going to throw a great party. So that's something that communities will do as well, which is kind of fun.
Yep.
Good idea. We got another question from the audience, and I'm going to try my best to just read this verbatim. The question is, do you do market research with the target populations before you go live with it? So I'm assuming they mean maybe live with marketing to these target populations. So yeah, I guess tell us more about the market research that you all do before you do some of the stuff we talked about today.
So with digital advertising too, we work with all of the big data agencies. So we've got very accurate, up to the minute. This data is updated daily, so we know who's targeting. And as far as the market goes too, it's not only the data that I've got, the big data that I have access to, but I'm constantly talking to my clients too. What are you seeing in the market? Who are those people who are actually calling and moving in? Eric and I in fact, we just had a conversation, not last week, but the week before, from a marketplace that everybody thought we were going to have one kind of target, but it's winding up being another target. And these people are driving us all nuts because they're taking forever to make a decision when they should have moved in yesterday. So I think it's a collaboration of the big data, the up to the minute data, plus what people who have lived in that area or know that market really well can actually contribute to.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've worked for very large companies that will hire marketing research firms to do focus groups and invite seniors in to look at the advertising, to look at some of the messaging and change that accordingly. You know, and that can be really costly, but you know, even just tapping into the folks that have moved into your community and asking them, you know, what drove them to move in, taking a look at some of those things. It's always really important to ask them, you know, how they heard about you, as kind of some of your market research. And you know, I know I heard it before from you, Eric, the zip codes, looking at the zip codes, you know, understanding where did you truly, you know, really digging down to where did you truly see us. You know, I know that you maybe saw us when you drove by, but was it the Facebook message that prompted you the second time you drove by or the third time, right? So there's some stuff you can do on your own if you don't want to pay for those large focus groups. So I've seen it kind of run all different ways, but talking to other people in the industry. So, you know, you can call your competitors up, your sales directors from your competitors and say, hey, let's all get together for coffee and tap into them. What do they know, right? So there's lots of different ways you can go about kind of finding that information.
Yeah, and just looking at, like, again, the lease journey visualizers, analytics and things like that too. You can see where traffic is coming from, geo, demos, psycho, and all of that as well.
Yep.
Great. We actually got a comment. This is good news for you, Eric. The comment was, "You're welcome to use my term hospitality suite as opposed to respite suite." And that is Edmonton, Canada. So you have permission.
Yeah.
I
don't have to pay royalties anymore. I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we have time for just one more. This is a question that I've also wondered. So when you have a community that's not yet open, but it is coming soon, what do you recommend to get leads for that property?
Wow.
Yeah. Digital.
We've opened 4 new communities during the pandemic, and so all of the above. You can't, Jen can tell you can't skimp on marketing. It's the first place you want it, but you're only going to get out of what you put into it. You've got to do events. You have to love on those people that have deposited. You have to hold and nurture them because there's so many things out of your control, like a certificate of occupancy. Did the elevator pass inspection? That's delaying opening 2 more weeks. Just every type of contingency you can think of, it will probably happen, unfortunately, and you just have to market around it. You know, the way that a building opens is very, very important. And so, you know, one of our buildings, you know, had some setbacks because of the way that COVID hit and construction delays and C of O and all those. And then our other communities that had the kind of the perfect scenario, they're doing great, and all of them are, you know, starting to pick up now. But yeah, before you open a new building, and too, in this environment, you know, it's just you know, hiring your staff, retaining your staff, and marketing towards your team. So you can't even market a team if you don't have a team hired, right? So if you don't have the nurse, if you don't have the executive director, if you don't have all those things. So all of the above. You've got to do just everything. Jen knows. Jen has been taking
something fun. Yeah, so let's say with a community that offers independent living, we can start marketing that. We can market that up as far out as a year out, but we have to be really careful too. And I've actually done this with several clients, including both Jen and Eric as well, is where we've said, okay, we're offering memory care, but we're going to not be so excited with those keywords and really pushing memory care, because if you're advertising 6-9 months out, you know, and people come in wanting memory care, they want it yesterday. So generally what we'll do too is we'll strategize a little bit about let's market senior living, let's market independent living, assisted living, we'll market those. And then we'll market memory care as well, but as we get closer, we have a more heavy focus on that per se. Or if we do market everything right out of the gates too, you want to have some sort of a a backup plan, or if you have a community nearby where they can actually stay until the community is ready and open. Those are a lot of things to think about too. So, and then also too, just, you know, as far as marketing goes, market for recruiting purposes too. That's super important. Like Erik says, you've got to have your staff. If you don't have a staff in place and they come and they're like, okay, nobody works here yet, and this is interesting, you know. You also, and Jen and Erik can talk more to this too. It's great having your sales trailer right there on property and having color boards and videos and all that sort of thing to show people what it's going to look like when they don't have the real deal to look at quite yet. They've got to have something to get excited about.
Yeah, I mean, having all that's super important. You know, honestly, when I tour someone in a community or an apartment, the only one that can visualize the furniture is someone who's worked in real estate. The realtor's like, oh, I got this. But everyone else, they can't visualize it. And so having all of those there ready to go, you know, because you're selling something that maybe doesn't even exist, or maybe you're seeing it under the construction process. So, yeah.
And creating videos of something that's similar, even if you have a property that's similar to this new one, creating a video is also good at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I same with you, you know, opening up new communities and written very extensive timelines of, you know, how to market, but definitely, you know, starting with that social media, you know, your digital marketing piece, but having employees in the building, because I know the one thing that, you know, really hurts a building is having somebody walk in this day and age with COVID, being restricted at home and seeing an empty building and nobody in there. So having your staff, and, you know, even if you're just doing some activity with your staff, right, whatever you need to do. But the other real key piece is that networking out in the community, you know, and Jen and I laugh because we were born the same year, so we're like dating ourselves right now. But encyclopedia, you know, when you had the door-to-door salesman, but literally going around the hospitals, the doctor, you go to every doctor's office around you that would potentially run into a client, and you just shake hands and pass out your cards, your information, and you just start, you know, of course, the chamber and all the events and networking everywhere you can. But then also not just yourself, but you've got a lot of staff that you've hired, right, that probably aren't working yet. They're not taking care of anybody. And a lot of your nursing staff right now are the only ones that can get those appointments inside of the rehabs, inside of the hospitals. So if they're going in there for other reasons where they're not letting salespeople in these buildings anymore with COVID, you know, teach them how to go in and market for you. And, you know, if your company is able to give them a small incentive for a move-in bonus as well, that always works well.
Great. All right. Well, I gotta jump in here. We're over time. I know we could spend a lot more time talking about this though. Really quickly, Jen Lovely, before we go, how can folks contact you? What's your contact info?
My contact phone number is 360-348-3303, and my email is Jen, Jen, for lovely, @clxmedia.com. Call me, text me, email me anytime.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for such a good discussion today. We covered a lot of ground and there was a lot of questions, so this was awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Jen and Erik. Thanks, Tim.
For having us. All right. Nice seeing you guys.
Bye, Tim.
Bye-bye.